Sujay, with your startup, the Frontier Car Group, you raised about $100 million in a very short time. And your business model is that you buy used cars in emerging markets and you sell them to dealers.
Correct.
And can you just briefly explain what is the money for the latest?
Sure. Yeah. So Frontier Car Group is exactly what you said, and we operate in very different countries around the world. Some countries in Latin America, some in Africa, some in Asia, and then we also have a large team here in Berlin where we focus on product development, financial analysis, business development. And so the cash that we've raised, which has been quite a bit in the last few years, is very focused on two things. One is to continue to sustain Berlin and grow Berlin. So grow the technology team that we have here, grow the finance team that we have here. And then the bulk of the money is actually spent in the countries where we operate. So, on marketing and our local teams there, and actually trading the vehicles that, which is our business model.
Could you please briefly explain how exactly it works in the countries?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's take Mexico as an example. Where we have a very large presence in Mexico. Nearly 200 employees there, and in Mexico we have a brand called Vende tu auto, which in Spanish means sell your car. Very straightforward, but
so you have a different name in every country?
We have a different name in every region, I should say, at least, sometimes every country. In Mexico and Chile, Vende tu auto, and in Nigeria, Cars 45, and then throughout Asia, we have different brands. So typically, they're geared towards the language of the country. And so in Mexico, if you were a consumer and you had a car, and you had owned the car for 5 years and you wanted to sell the car, you could drive into any one of our 30 locations in Mexico right now. We're in Mexico City and Guadalajara, which are the two largest cities in Mexico right now, but we're slowly expanding throughout the entire country. You bring your car into any location. They're a small location, almost the size of a mini gas station. And then you can sell your car in 45 minutes, where basically we'll inspect your car and then sell it to a dealer within that 45-minute period, and you leave that location with money in your pocket.
And why do you think is this system better than the old one, or the old way how to sell?
Well, the only way in emerging markets typically for consumers to sell their vehicles is via classifieds. Typically there's any horizontal classified that you can think of, like Gumtree, for example, where you put your car on classifieds, 50 people contact you, 30 people come to your house, look at your car. It takes about 1 to 2 months to do, and it's just a very onerous process at the end of the day. And so I think that what we're trying to do is make it a very quick, efficient process, but also very transparent. In emerging markets, there's a huge safety concern when consumers meet somebody else with cash to buy their cars. And so for us, if you can go to a safe, secure location, we'll rehandle all your paperwork, and we just transfer money via your bank account, you can ensure that it'll be a safe process as well.
Okay, and when you look back on the last few months, how did your business develop during the last month?
The business has developed considerably. I mean, the team has grown, from a few hundred to over 750 around the world now. As you said, capital-wise, we've raised over $150 million in the past 2 years. And then just in terms of operations, we're going to almost triple the business this year. We're going to sell over $250 million worth of cars in 2018 alone.
Yeah, that's a rapid growth, and a lot of startups struggle when they grow that fast. So how did you manage the growth?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's just having a very spectacular team. In every geo that we operate in, the founder and CEO that we work with there, who we built the business with together, is one of the most reputable, tier 1 founders in that country. And so having such amazing local talent to manage the growth is extremely important. And so I think that it's very team-based to be able to handle that growth.
Okay, so it depends on the team.
I think it depends very much on the team, correct.
Yeah, and back to the business model, you have borrowed heavily from business model from other ones. And some people may think, so well, it's not your own idea, in fact. So what do you counter when people face you with
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that it's that rocket science of a model. I mean, we're not a augmented reality or VR company or artificial intelligence company. We're not something who's building such deep tech that it's a proprietary advantage. I think this is very much a business model that is an operational one. Something where on the ground you have to build locations, you have to build a supply chain, you have to build warehouses, you have to have a phenomenal marketing team to make it work in the country. So I think our tech platform is extremely good, and it's allowed us to launch rapidly around the world. However, I think what makes us different is actually our operational know-how and expertise, rather than the fact that our tech may be on par or better than Auto One's. That's not the reason. And so I think all of these business models around the world have tried to solve a pain point for consumers, and we're just doing the same thing.
But do you think there will be a point when you compete with Auto One, for example, in the same market?
I don't think Auto One, no, because we are extremely emerging markets only focused. Auto One, as you can tell, is very European Union focused, and is able to basically offer another service provider to a consumer in markets where there's other ways to sell your vehicle. So I think what we're trying to do is a little bit different of a business model, actually, and we focus on very different markets.